Okay, here we go. This is the Suitland, Maryland Civic Association's building cleanup trustee report. We are giving you this report to show you what our property is located on Silver Hill and Suitland Road, on the corner of Silver Hill and Suitland Road. For the sake of the property, since there are many other properties there, I won't give the address. But nevertheless, this presentation is geared for what you're about to see. First shall be last, and the last shall be first. And there's also magic in thinking big, according to Armandino. And also, we are going to make this presentation under auspices that everyone know that you are the greatest miracle that God has ever created. That's what this is going to sum up to be. You see three pictures at the bottom of this first slide, and this is a few slides of equipment that's going to be used, hopefully, to clean up the information that you're about to see. The second picture, you'll see the equipment and also the manpower that's going to be used in order to clean it up. And also the third picture on the far right is also, you see, equipment and the debris for which we're going to clean up. All right, so here we go. This is the foliage that we see now behind the building that we're talking about. The building is facing Silver Hill Road, on a corner of Silver Hill Road and Suitland Road in Suitland, Maryland. And we're going to show you the city of Suitland in a minute. The building that you see in the slide, we're going to be talking about it in a minute. The fence that you see on the far left, we're going to be talking about that. And removing the foliage, and you're going to be able to see another fence that you don't see now because of the greenery that's there, including the trees. Okay, moving right along. This is the primary purpose of this, is to show you we have a tree that an act of God has blown down on our property and on the property that you see the top of the tree landing on. The tree that you see, the brown tree, is not on the association's property. It is on the property and adjacent next to the association. We're going to be talking about that in what we're showing. This was the cleanup that it's going to take, and perhaps the projected cost for making the cleanup that we need to make. Okay, here is the property also that's adjacent to us. You'll see the tree laying on the property. Well, there's an L-shaped property, both in our property, the association property, and also the property next to us. The end of the property is all in an L shape, and the tree's laying on someone else's property, as you can see, and there's a fence that separates the tree from the L that's which is laying on. I'm moving right along. Here is the property also where the tree is laying on, the L shape. This on our immediate right, as you see here, our right side of the truck that you see, this is actually a fence between the association's property and the property next door to the association. You can't see it because of the trees and the shrubbery that's grown up there, but that's going to be removed, I'm sure, in a short period of time after the board sees this presentation. Now, here is the opposite side of what you just saw. This is the right side of the adjacent, immediate back of the association's property. The fence that you see on the slide is on the left side of the property if you're going straight, and the tree that you see uprooted is by the act of God blew the tree up on the association's property, which was right near the next door neighbor's property. But the tree, if you can see here, is laying on the next door neighbor's property. Both properties, our next door neighbor property and the association property, need cleaning pretty bad, and this is what this presentation is by the trustees making recommendations that we pay the cost for making the cleanup of the debris that we'll see in all these pictures. All right, here is the right side of the property, the building that you saw in the first picture that we showed. This is on the right side of the property. If you were facing Silver Hill Road, it would be on the left side. But if you're looking at the back of our property, it is on the right side. So we're going to turn it around and let you face Silver Hill Road so you can see that the left side of this picture is the association's property line. And you can see that what's need to be removed in order to make the property clean like it should be. It has quite a bit of trees that need to be cut down and perhaps rooted up and moved away in order to put a parking lot where you see the trees. The building next door doesn't have a parking lot because it's a quite long building, as you see, almost at the end of the association's property. The front facing Silver Hill Road will be on the left side of the property, and it goes all the way up to the street, right near the front door of the association's property. And you can see it wouldn't take that much to level it off in order to put a parking lot behind the association's building that you can see now in this picture. This is the association's property, the back of the building. They didn't show the entire building because it's not the building that we're talking about in this presentation as much as it is the trees and the other foliage that's grown up behind the building, and you can't see the fence in this picture here, but there's a fence behind the building that goes all the way down to past the tree that you saw laying down, but you can't see the fence because of the trees that's grown up. But the equipment that we showed in the first part of this picture is the type of equipment that it's going to take in order to make the cleanup that's required in this picture. Okay, now I'm almost at the end of this presentation, but again, I showed you a second picture of the footage that's behind it, how long the property line is for where a parking could be used. And you can't see the entire length of the property because it's like an L shape at the end of the fence. The association property would go to your right. If you're looking straight down the line, the association property would veer to the right, which means there's additional property but at the end of the fence that belong to the association. The trees that you see, once they are moved, you can visualize as to how much space it would have for a parking lot behind the association's building. Now, this is also at the end of the association's property. On the right side, you see that this building is there in the picture. Well, this is to give you an idea as to what's needed to be removed by the cleanup persons that we're going to have to employ in order to clean this up, people with the equipment in order to make the repairs that we're going to have to make. Now, this is the final picture that we're going to show with regard to the cleanup, but this is the back of the property where our trees blown down over on our neighbor's property, blown down on the fence. This is the base root of the tree where the tree was uprooted by God's wind, blew it down, and both properties need to have the tree removed. And since the tree blew down from outside, it is recommended by members of the executive board that we pay for the cleanup. And this is what I'm also recommending based upon that recommendation, that we have to pay to have all these trees taken down and the tree that's blown down removed. And even beyond that tree, we have to cut some trees down in order to accommodate the parking that we're going to need. What parking, you may ask? Well, parking for our new city. And this is the end of the presentation. I started out with this presentation talking about the magic of thinking big. That's by Dino. Wrote a book, and it's a little small book, but once you get an understanding of how important it is for us to think big as opposed to thinking small, then we can see our city. That's where the building is. We can see our city hall building right where our current building is, but you got to be able to think big in order to do that. I also talked about the we are being greatest miracle. Dino also wrote a book called The Greatest Miracle in the World, and the greatest miracle happened to be you. You are the greatest miracle. If you're watching this presentation, you're the greatest miracle that God has ever created. And you cannot do anything about that because he's already created you. And if you think negatively about you not being the greatest miracle, then you perhaps will not be. But also, Dino wrote a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World. And I'm selling you this as one of the greatest salesmen in the world, believing that the city of Suitland, Maryland is looking, what you're looking at is the new downtown view. Thank you for watching this presentation. This is David Richardson, one of the trustees in the Suitland, Maryland Civic Association. I love you, and goodbye.